Okay. Hier ist ein Rechtschreibfehler drin. Developers. Zurück. Okay. Wow, that's fast. Fuck. Das sieht so gut aus. Meine Fresse. Also die Optik ist sehr überragend. Sehr awesome.
Alright, the solid fuel boosters are empty. Let's drop them. It's time to start your gravity turn. A gravity turn uses the pull of the planet's gravity to help bend your vertical ascent into a horizontal arc. It's the first step to entering orbit. For our first flight to orbit, we're going to start our gravity turn up to where the air is thin, at an altitude of around 10,000 meters. To show you where to aim your rocket, I've placed a target marker on your nav ball.
Thanks. Okay, aber nice. Also bei 10.000 Meter.
First, we need to get to 10,000 meters.
Dann turnen wir.
You're going to yaw towards the east so that the target marker is in the center of the nav ball. Your vessel and nav ball should look like this example video if you're performing the gravity turn correctly.
Okay. Jauen Sie hart. Ja. And the stage is empty. The fuck?
Your current stage's fuel is empty. Let's drop it and activate your deep space engine. Great job! Your rocket is on its way to orbit. As you gain experience, you can make your gravity turns more efficient by starting to tilt your rocket soon after liftoff. Adjusting course with a series of small corrections instead of one big one will leave you with a lot more fuel when you get to orbit. Turning immediately after launch requires a very stable rocket. So if you ever have trouble keeping the pointy end up, you can try the simplified wait and turn method we use today.
Okay, mache ich schon immer so. Okay, das war sweet. Jetzt frage ich mich natürlich trotzdem, wo ist die Apoapsis AP? Sehe ich die denn hier mal im Detail? Ja, 53 ist nicht hoch genug, aber okay, next. Jetzt wären wir doch fast im Orbit gelandet. Gelandet im Orbit.
Right now, we're on a ballistic trajectory. If no further adjustments are made, your rocket will eventually fall back down to the ground. Our objective is to turn this arc into an orbit. The process of turning your trajectory into a circular orbit is called circularization.
Danke.
Partial credit to the rocket people on that one. It does have the word circle in it, but it's really hard to say.
Jo, das ist wohl wahr.
When planning and executing orbital maneuvers, you'll want to switch to map view, where you can see every part of your current trajectory. The blue arc passing through your vehicle is its current trajectory, the path your rocket will follow if you don't touch the controls anymore. Our goal is to make that arc into a circular orbit. After you've coasted nearly to the top of this arc, you're going to point forward, and then you're going to ignite your engine. If you time this burn right, you'll never quite get to the top of the arc, as it'll keep widening in front of you until it wraps all the way around the planet.
Nett formuliert, ja, das stimmt.
Let's break that down a little more. The top of your arc has a helpful tag in map view. It's called the apoapsis, abbreviated as AP. You're going to max out your throttle before you pass this point. We're paused at just before the apoapsis. We want to go faster in the direction we're already moving, so we need to make sure our rocket is pointed forward. There's a handy marker on your nav ball, called the prograde marker. That represents your forward direction. Use the Stability Assist System, or SAS, to point your vessel at that marker. You're all lined up and ready to go. The next step is to go max throttle. It can take time for your arc to fully expand into an orbit. If you look closely at where your trajectory meets the ground, you'll see it moving toward the horizon.
Okay.
Once your trajectory reaches all the way around the planet, you'll see another marker on your orbit. This is the periapsis, or PE, the lowest point in your orbit. It'll always live on the opposite side of your orbit from the apoapsis, or highest point.
Yep.
By burning prograde near your apoapsis, you increase the altitude of your periapsis, the lowest point on your orbit.
And vice versa.
Here's the most important thing to remember about setting up an orbit above an atmosphere. Your periapsis must be higher than the atmosphere, or your rocket will start to slow down every time it dips into the upper atmosphere. On Kerbin, that means every part of your orbit must be higher than 70 kilometers. Keep your eye on your trajectory for now, and I'll tell you if your periapsis is safely out of the atmosphere. Okay, your orbit is fully out of the atmosphere. Cut the throttle. You did it! You're in orbit!
Yay!
This is when I'd usually tell you to look under your seat in the simulator, where you'd find a delicious celebratory treat.
Yay!
Sadly, since the vending machine in the astrodynamics lab broke down, it has gotten very difficult to hide snacks anywhere at KSC. Feel free to take a moment to admire your first orbit. In a way, you've given yourself a mind snack, which is way better than the edible kind anyway. Right? Right?
Nope. Cute. Okay, das Tutorial ist fertig. Wir sind hier 185 zu 73. Gerade so. Alles klar. Fertig mit Orbit.
Orbits are weird. Remember your orbiting baseball? What if you wanted to make its orbit higher? Well, it's a baseball, so grab your bat and try to hit the ball to a higher orbit. Your first thought might be to try to deflect the ball upwards. Unfortunately, hitting the ball upward bends its orbit so that it hits the ground before it can return to you. What you need to do is hit the ball in the direction it's already moving, adding to its already high velocity. Now that you've sped the ball up, why isn't it flying any higher? It just keeps whizzing by at the same height it always did. After all, I said that making it go faster would make it go higher. What gives? The ball is actually going higher, but it's going higher on the opposite side of the planet from where you're standing. You've raised its orbit, and you've learned the first lesson of orbital maneuvering. Your actions affect the opposite side of your orbit. Weird, huh? So your ball is moving faster, but it's still passing you at the same height. How do you get its orbit higher on this side of the planet? Now that you know how changes in velocity affect the other side of your orbit, you've got all you need. By adding velocity to the ball at the highest point in its orbit, you raise the lowest point in its orbit and make it circular again.
Ah, Glück gehabt. Nom nom nom. Doesn't work, huh? Ja, cool. Auch richtig. Darüber denke ich schon gar nicht mehr nach, aber es ist so, ja, logisch. Next.
An equatorial orbit is good, but if you want to travel beyond Kerbin, you'll need to manipulate your orbit. Let's start with something simple, expanding an orbit. We do that by increasing the value of our apoapsis. Let's get a good view. Remember how you circularized your orbit by increasing your forward velocity? To raise your orbit, you'll just do more of the same. It's time to burn prograde. Now that we're pointed the right way, we can increase the throttle and watch our orbit expand.
Nice. Thanks.
Ooh, cut the throttle. If you overdo it, you'll leave Kerbin's orbit entirely. Nice. That maneuver raised our orbit on the other side of Kerbin, so we will enter high orbit there. Waiting to reach a specific point can be as eventful as watching the neon stripes on your rover dry. The paint job will be worth it, but isn't it better to rush to the end? Skip ahead to the good stuff using a time warp.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, the highest point of our orbit is called the apoapsis. The lowest point of our orbit is known as the periapsis. By default, your camera is focused on your vessel, so if you can't see either of these points, adjust your camera.
Ich sehe beide.
Scroll the middle mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Double-click an object to center your camera on it. Click the middle mouse button to enter FreeCam. Press Home to reset the camera to your active vessel.
Okay.
Excellent! You can time warp to any position on your trajectory by selecting a point on your vehicle's current path, and then selecting Time Warp to Point.
Time warp to point.
Now you're way up in the sky, so high that if you circularize your orbit now, you'll be in high orbit. Wow, the black starry void looks so small from here.
Düp, 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 düp. Yeah, das haben wir gelernt. Next.
From command pods to space probe cores, a lot of critical rocket parts use electric charge. You'll want to design your rocket so it can generate and store EC.
Of course.
Most rocket engines generate electric charge while active, but we'll still need a way to keep our batteries full while coasting between maneuvers.
Auch das. Logisch.
Solar panels convert Kerbal's light into EC for our rockets. Small solar panels can just be placed, but large solar panels are delicate and must only be deployed once we're out of the atmosphere. I've equipped this rocket with 2 deployable solar panels. Here's a hand crank. Get to work.
Yay.
Just kidding. There's a handy button that opens all of them with a single click. Give it a try. Great. The solar panels are now extended. Light tracking solar panels only rotate on one axis, so we may need to reorient our ship to point them fully at the sun. Let's make sure the panels are getting direct sunlight by rolling our ship a little bit.
Aber just a little bit.
Excellent. The solar panels are soaking up all of those sweet photons and giving our rocket some much-needed EC.
Yeah.
You can see the status of any solar panel within the part manager in the electrical parts menu. You can either access the app directly by clicking the app button, or you can right-click a part to directly access it in the part manager.
Okay.
Getting EC is one thing, and storing it is another. Most command pods have a small battery, but many missions will call for additional EC storage. When we're traveling far from the sun or going to the dark side of a planet, more batteries means more peace of mind.
Klar. Da sind die Batteries nämlich dran. Okay, next.
At some point, the crew will run out of snacks. Did you know a Kerbal is 99.9% more likely to crash when hungry?
Of course.
That's why it's time to head back down to Kerbin, a planet known for its plentiful snack options. First, let's get a better view for this operation.
Okay. Deorbiting.
Remember how we burned prograde to raise our orbit? To lower our orbit, we burn in the opposite direction, retrograde. SAS can really help us out here, so let's turn that on. Now flip retrograde, the opposite direction to our rocket's movement. When we get into position to fire our engine backwards, we'll slow down. All right, the rocket is aligned to retrograde. Increase the throttle and burn until our trajectory is just past the atmosphere. As we decelerate, watch what's happening to our periapsis. Once it enters the atmosphere, this rocket is on a path back to the ground. Don't ease off the throttle yet, though. We're gonna keep burning until our trajectory intercepts the ground. This should give us a good idea where our capsule will land.
Okay. Ja, Periapsis, bist du jetzt?
That's it. Let's stop our burn. Now that we're on a collision course with Kerbin, we need to turn that collision into something more survivable. This process of crashing without dying is called landing. Our upcoming stage will activate a decoupler, dropping the engine and exposing a very important heat shield. Why don't you do that now?
Discard the engine. Okay.
Great. We're on our way down and our heat shield is exposed. Have you ever wondered what a marshmallow feels like when it catches on fire? You're about to find out.
Okay. Super, also das Ding macht sich jetzt ab. Tschüss. So.